Welcome to Data Forward, the podcast that keeps you ahead in the fast-evolving world of enterprise AI and data management. We bring you expert insights, actionable strategies, and the latest trends to help you stay on top. Ready to shape the future of data? Let's Data Forward.
Hi, I'm Ramon Chen, and welcome to another episode of Data Forward. I have with me today founder of Promethium, Kaycee Lai. Welcome, Kaycee.
Hey, Ramon, thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's great to have you on. Tit for tat, right? I was on your podcast, and now you're on mine.
That's right.
So,
Except
yeah,
this time we're actually both in the US and not in Singapore.
that is correct. Yeah. Oh, well, and then we can't go for Laksa afterwards, which is terrible. But it's really great to have you on because a lot's happened since we last had our conversation on your Data Fabric show. So tell us what you've been up to and tell us what Promethium's all about, actually. Start.
No, absolutely. So Promethium was a pioneer in what we call the instant data fabric. And so we're the first and probably the only vendor that actually delivers not just a data fabric architecture, but a full-blown end-to-end solution as well. So what is a data fabric? A data fabric is a modern composable architecture that allows you to actually have a single unified view of all your data and instant access to all the data as well without having to make any duplicate copies, right? So this has become really popular in recent years because of the adoption of GenAI. If you think about trying to get GenAI into the analytics for an enterprise environment, all your data is probably scattered in multiple places. There's no way you can get your LLM to talk to every single one of your data sources. And then how would they know how to handle all the complex, data governance, data quality, data ingestion, all pipelines, data prep, and so forth. And so Fabric's become this very simplified, but also singular access point, right? Where LLMs can actually access and get the full enterprise context that they're used to, right? To know that this is the right data that you can trust, and this is the right way to actually assemble it. So we've actually seen a lot of interest in Promethium recently because of the enterprise's adoption of GenAI. They realize it's a lot more than just doing text to SQL. It's a lot harder than that, especially if you want to have accurate results that you can actually trust. And so building up the foundation of a data fabric really ensures that you have all the governance, all the trusts, all the access controls seamlessly passing through, right? All your data sources in a single API, right? For all the LLMs to actually talk to.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, it's definitely exploded in popularity, but Prometheum's been around for a while. So if I could sort of, cast my mind way back, almost 10, 15 years, there was this thing called sort of federated query, right? And sort of virtual views and so forth. How is Fabric different to that, though, relative to sort of having a single point of query and then, not having copies all over the place?
Yeah, so I would say like query federation and virtual views, that is an implementation point, right? It's a means to an end. Where Fabric is different is Fabric delivers the entire end-to-end experience, right? So before you query, you have to figure out how to actually generate the SQL. Before you generate the SQL, you have to figure out how to build a data set. Before you build a data set, you have to figure out how to do the pipeline. Before you do the pipeline, you have to figure out how to get access. Before you get access, you have to figure out where the heck the data is and what do you need. Right. And so everyone talks about like the query federation, assuming all the stuff ahead is going to be magically done for you. And that's never the case. Right. And I think this is where there's been a very interesting shift in our industry, right? We're all used to doing analytics off of that golden data set, right? That golden master that took 18 months to do, right? And forever that's what we use. Well, when OpenAI came on the scenes and gave us ChatGPT, something magical happened, and that is users just want to ask the question that's on their mind. They don't know, oh my God, do I have a golden master existing somewhere, right? Is there a perfect data set out there? If they have a question they want to ask, and that's the experience that you get as a consumer at home, that, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on who you talk to, you want to take it into the enterprise at work. And so we get into the enterprise, and especially like large enterprises, this, Ramon, you've seen this. everyone has a hard time knowing what data they have and where it is to begin with, let alone like being able to just simply, engage with the data, right? And so while it seems like, oh yeah, isn't this just kind of like query federation? It's really putting it all together end to end, a seamless experience, right? Where before you might have a catalog to just do the discovery and validation, before you might just have like an ETL, ELT tool, before you might just have a prep tool, before you might just have a data virtualization tool. If you think about that, that is like the worst thing that could possibly happen for Gen AI, because there's no way your LLM can talk to 16 different tools and actually get them to coordinate with each other. And
Exactly.
that has been the frustration that people have experienced. Like, well, why can't I get this? And you can't go to them and say, well, you can only use it if you use these three magical golden data sets. That just simply doesn't work. And so when people see that, well, wait a minute, there is a way to actually let them ask these free form questions without us having to build a pipeline first and still be able to trust the results. I think that's when the art of the possible, right, like really lights up in people's eyes. And that's where they get really excited about all that innovation that's been stifled and pent up can actually be finally released.
Yeah, so it's really also about sort of agility, getting to the data fast, and also being able to ask questions before you know the form factor of everything that's out there. So really accelerating the pace of data discovery, democratizing access to the data, right? And
Absolutely.
so when we first got together many years ago, I was at Reltio and we were talking about sort of some of the synergies related to master data management and what you were doing with Promethium at the time. Now I'm at Excel Data and we're all about data observability, as you know. And the synergies are even more pronounced, right, between
Yes.
what Promethium does and what Excel Data does. In essence, right, as you start to look at creating new data products using Prometheum's capabilities in the new pipelines, data observability plays a role because we can help uncover what would be a good data product and also getting things done right the first time. Isn't that what you're seeing as well?
Yeah, it's actually an amazingly good synergy, right? Because while Prometheum has unlocked kind of the removal of the friction to find the data, access data, and to build, there's a lot we don't know afterwards, right? It's like we don't know, well, how expensive is it going to be to run this query, right? We don't know, but Excel data does, data observability does, right? Um, should I go ahead and do a 8 billion row inner join? Is that going to be okay? Like, will I fail? Will the underlying data source actually be able to handle this load? Or okay, great. I built the data set. I think it's great. I want to operationalize it. Where should I publish to? Just because I can publish to Databricks doesn't mean it should always go to Databricks. So this is where I think the synergies are actually really complementary and really comprehensive because it goes beyond what physically could happen and what technically could happen, and now introduces the economics, the economic considerations, as well as there might be some organizational considerations of, well, the reason why you don't want to publish to Databricks is because, right, our favorite BI tool, Tableau, is not really configured for Databricks, right? And so if you're an end user who always likes to consume via Tableau, that might be a consideration, for example, right? Or, hey, maybe going to Databricks right now is great because the Snowflake data warehouse or data lake has 99% pipeline occupancy already. Like, don't add another one, right? So these are things that we wouldn't know in the data fabric world, but you guys would know. And having that information before an action happens, I think would actually save people not only a lot of time, a lot of money, but prevent a lot of possible issues that could happen. And then finally, my favorite part is, when you do something in the data observability world and you see, okay, there's an issue, okay, we know what the problem is, we can fix it. If that data product was built in Promethium, you've got live remediation. You
Exactly.
don't have to go wait and go call someone to file a ticket. Boom, instantly, hey guys, this is exactly what we need to do to fix it. go into Promethium, fix it, and see in real time, have it flow through, right? So that real time ability to address quality issues, I think it's a really big, powerful benefit, and it's very kind of underrated. But I think anyone who is in day to day operations can really appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure. And then it's great that you brought up quality, right? Because in addition to all the things you described, the observability of efficiency and the sort of components that are required in order to surface this information to the business users, it's also about the quality of the data, right? Detecting that the pipelines may be running fine, but the data in it is wrong, which would
Correct.
lead to bad business decisions. So this whole shift to left mentality that then starts from the very point in which Prometheum starts to collect the data, but actually even starts before that happens, right? When a data source is being sort of provisioned from a third party, is that third party data source reliable, right? And being able to see that in the quarantine records before they ever get into your pipeline is something that's very, very useful as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, the lineage, the quality, how it's being consumed, usage, all that richness of metadata usage, crowdsource, all that information gets married and made available, right, to a tool like Excel Data to help, right, further optimize the pipeline, the health pipeline health, and prevent, issues before they even happen. And then again, having that feedback loop, right? I think this is what makes it so interesting. Is it's not a linear type of workflow, right? Where I ask a question, I build a product, I'm done, right? It, now you can actually have a continuous loop.
So, Casey, one of the things that is also super interesting about Data Fabric and data products is the ability to then have contracts, right? So, why don't you explain what a data contract is and how that is an important part of the data product? And then let's talk about how maybe data observability can produce some of those metrics that help you enforce those contracts.
Yeah, so data contracts started getting popularity of late because people realize that a lot of times um, bad or wrong data products are built,
Hmm.
not because the data team isn't paying attention or they're incompetent. It's because they never got clear requirements, right? Just like in product development, I'm sure there's someone in product management you can relate to. If you have bad requirements, you're going to get a bad product, right?
Yeah.
And it takes a long time of then having to go fix it. It's a lot easier to get very clear requirements up front. And so I think that's where data contracts started getting a lot of popularity. And so it makes sense that when you're in the business of building data products, right, with the data fabric, as much as you can express your requirements and your needs for the business user to give to the data team, the more accuracy and clarity, right, they actually have to deliver a high quality data product. Now, I think that some of the challenges that we've seen is that a lot of data contracts are code, uh, which is fantastic if you're a developer, but it's, think like the developer doesn't need to write a contract for himself. The developer needs a contract from the business, right? The
Exactly.
business isn't going to be able to deliver you a data contract in code, at least not well. And so that's where we've seen a lot of just kind of the disconnect, like great idea in theory, but in implementation, not so great. And so Prometheum actually kind of took the step forward. It's like, well, what if we can help people create data contracts, but in actual like human readable and understandable form that a business user, right, will have a very easy time to specify like the core things that they really need, right? Hey, this is the question I'm asking. This is how fresh I need the data to be. This is what my SLA is when I need to turn around. These are the components I need. I need visualization. I need lineage to verify that it's accurate. I need, some type of, the outstanding SQL as well as some explanation of how you actually build it. And these are things that, business analysts are capable, right,
Mhm.
of
Yeah.
actually describing. And if you can actually do that, then it makes the job of the data team so much easier when they're going to go look for data. Oh, I know exactly the range, or I know exactly the context of what you're looking for. Okay, you're looking specifically for churn. I know where to find that. I'm not going to go bother looking somewhere else. And you're looking for product information. Got it. That means I need to go to this one because that's where the product master is. You care about performance. You want this to be a high performing data product. Okay, you've actually specified that, hey, the responsiveness should be no less than 5 milliseconds. Okay, I'm probably not going to give that to you off of our on-prem Cloudera or something, right? I'm probably going to have to do something more of a beefier cloud data warehouse. So you basically bypass 6 different round trips of, is this okay? Oh no, that was horrible. Is this okay? Into one trip where now you actually have accelerated not just the project delivery, but probably even the project acceptance. So that's where I think data contracts become very, very powerful. And with observability, what's cool is you can now add cost and quality into the contract, right? So
Exactly.
here's what I'm willing to do. And a data team can come back and say, well, based on that, it's going to cost X
Yep.
for me to deliver this. Can you deliver it? Can you? If so, give me the cost center, right?
Yep.
We're going to charge against it. If not, we're going to have to deliver something less that's going to be non-compliant to your contract, recognize that, or change the requirements in your contract to be able to comply, right? So I think that's another area that it becomes very useful. And then last part is governance, right? So instead of relying on qualitative signals, like I think my data team's doing a good job, I think my business teams actually like my data products that I build,
Yep.
you actually now through the contract, you can see contract enforcement, contract compliance, right? I specifically asked you for data no less than 30 minutes old. This one was delivered where the data is 24 hours old.
Exactly.
So now it's black and white. It's really hard to argue. And the contract could even proactively alert you. So, hey, Ramon, you're about to deliver this product. It's going to be in violation of the contract. This is 24 hours freshness, not 15-minute freshness. Are you okay? And there might be a good reason. You might say,
Yep.
it is okay because of the cost considerations, right?
Yeah.
And that's okay. Now there's no arguing. Now
Yeah.
it's very clear we're all on the same page, right? And that product is probably going to get accepted a lot faster than before.
Yeah, it's really a game of trade-offs, right? So nobody has unlimited funds. Nobody can really catalog or clean the data of the entire enterprise. So
Correct.
you really have to. So Gartner has this great saying that they were pushing very hard in Orlando, Gartner Orlando, where you and I both were recently. Data readiness, right? So is the data fit for purpose? And is the data that you're cleaning and of improving quality relevant and of value to the sort of end business user, right? So it's being able to see the lineage going all the way through the consumption layer, and how often is that data actually being used in the context of business, and what value is it delivering?
Right.
So when you have, quality and level of effort, cost and efficiency, and then value, then you have the 3 magic numbers that you can balance out.
It is quite a. I mean, we've all talked about it, right? We all know it as practitioners. Well, of course, of course, that's what we have.
Yeah.
But I think the execution, the toolings have always remained so disparate that unless you're like the JPMCs or Capital Ones or the Metas of the world, you just didn't have enough people and money, right, to build these toolings for all the telemetry and all the remediation to happen automatically.
Yep.
I think now is an exciting time, though, because of all the advancements in AI. And a lot of the improvements in integration, people are building on open standards, et cetera. It's actually possible, right? It's actually very, very feasible, and it doesn't cost an arm and a leg. And so I think for data teams out there, business teams out there, it is probably a good time to kind of revisit the architecture, because these things that we know made sense that were kind of outreach or too complex to implement, it's not the case anymore. So I think I would really recommend folks to kind of reevaluate their architecture.
Yeah, it's almost like an inflection point where when the cloud first came to fore, all of a sudden you could spin up an AWS account and start coding, and you didn't have to go procure expensive PC or large
Yeah.
servers, and all of a sudden the playing field was leveled, right? And
Right.
startups could compete with the big boys who in previously it was just there was a barrier to entry. Now I think with data fabric, data products, data observability, the barrier to entry to getting clean quality data at a very reasonable cost and to really accelerate how you're using data strategically in your business is the playing field is leveled.
Big time. Right,
Yeah.
and then throw in Gen AI on top of that, and we're hearing about unicorn companies with like 5 employees, right? Like
Yeah.
it's pretty exciting time, and I'm seeing kind of the big traditional shops that are notorious for kind of the we'll build it ourselves. We got 40,000 PhDs in data
Right.
engineering that we're going to throw. I'm even seeing those guys come around and say, well, is there really a strategic value for us to build it before they had to build it
Yeah.
because that integration, all those integrations, the automation and telemetry didn't exist. Now I'm seeing those guys come around and say, you know, am I really in the data integration, data observability, data pipeline, data cataloging business? Like, no, I'm a bank, or
Yeah.
no, I sell cars. Uh, Maybe I should focus my resources on what my business differentiators are. It probably isn't. I built the best pipeline. I built the best catalog, or I built the best observer, right? And so I think that has also shifted where as the smaller companies now have another level playing field, the bigger companies now to maintain or extend their edge, they have to really focus on what's really core to their business,
Exactly.
right? Not plumbing like that you and I do.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about Gen AI. Now that we're on that topic, I think the sort of the elephant in the room is, and you saw, hopefully you saw that Excel Data a couple of weeks ago. We announced our agentic data management capabilities,
Mhm.
and very much like the way you described the democratization of being able to sort of pull together sort of the right fabric and products and pipeline, we're sort of making it easy to get to and enforce policies and rules and operationalize data governance with very little to no code, right?
Right.
And also to use natural language so that everybody can have access to the metadata, the importance of the value of the data, and the policies that are primarily being enforced. So, how are you seeing Gen AI, and what is Promethium doing with Gen AI relevant to sort of creating data fabrics and data products?
Yeah, I'll start the second part first because I think the first part is going to be a little bit controversial. Uh,
Okay, let's not have people tune out, right? And so we,
so we'll end on a bang, all right?
yes, sounds good.
Uh, so what Prometheum has been adopting Gen AI for a while and kind of continues to. So one area, a couple areas where Gen AI has made its way into kind of data fabric creation, data product creation. Is one is being able to do a lot of the manual tasks that were originally involved with labeling data, right? Tagging data, writing descriptions. People built these complex data dictionaries. Gen AI can do that in a snap, right?
Yeah,
It may not be 100% accurate, but man, when it's 80, 90% accurate and it took 90 seconds, your life changes, right?
mhm,
Your operation, your procedures, your process, it changes. It gets a lot better, a lot faster, right? So that's one way where it actually makes a big difference when you're using natural language to build data products, right? Because before, if you don't know the right column names, right table names, the table discovery and selection and column selection might be kind of hard. But when Gen AI can say, well, this could also be called these 6 other names, or this is what it actually means, now the natural language picks those up as well as the actual column name. So not knowing the actual table column names, not having the actual tags, not that important anymore, right?
no,
So that's a big step up in terms of leveling the playing field for a lot of users. So that's one. Two is the actual code generation, right? The actual SQL generation. I mean, I've seen LLMs come a long way between ChatGPT 3.0 to what we have now. It is night and day in
Yeah.
terms of the quality, right? I used to laugh at ChatGPT 3.0. I'm like, this is never gonna, no one's ever gonna use this. Brother, it is pretty goddamn good, right? Out of the box. And that's
Yeah.
with like little to no training. And I think where we've leveraged it is knowing when LLMs will hallucinate and when they will not, what they're good at, what they're not good at. So, for example, LLMs are really good at like natural language semantic conversion, right? So, top five, worst performing, most churned. That's what LLMs are really good at. They've gone through documents and documents of how those are defined, and they can instantly give you the SQL expression. What they're not good at is they don't know where all your tables and columns are.
That's right.
They don't know that you actually have 60 different columns called revenue. They have no idea that you have 60 columns that should be revenue, but they're not called revenue. Like they wouldn't know that, but the fabric does. So where we've actually done a very good marriage is we use the LLMs for those natural language semantic conversions of those type of terms, but we still use the fabric, right, for that accurate discovery and accurate selection. And then we pair them together. The result is you got a much more natural experience, right? That the user can actually ask a question. And then when you're done, GenAI comes again and narrates, right? And annotates the whole output for you again. Here's why I did what I did. Let me explain to you. Let me tell you what the output in plain old text. So it starts conversationally and it ends conversationally, right? So that's what Promethium has done. It's really kind of created this very nice experience from a natural language perspective. That's the easy part, right? That's the non-controversial part.
Yeah.
Now, the controversial part is if you look at the advancements in LLMs and the speed at which we're getting and the all the documents, all the models, everything they can train at and the speed at which they can crank through them, I don't know how much longer standalone data management tools will have a place in the enterprise analytics landscape. It may not be tomorrow. It probably isn't tomorrow, but that time is waning. So if you think about it, let me qualify that, explain that. Let's talk about the traditional tools that we use. We have a catalog tool, right? We have like a prep tool, right, to do transformation. We have something to like a SQL editor to write SQL. We have a BI tool. Like just take those four basic areas. Well, a catalog is good for discovery. It's good for documentation. It's good for to see where things come from. I mean, that happens. GenAI is really damn good at search. RAG is really damn good at search, really accurate, really good at the natural language, the semantic search, and being able to automatically generate alternative meanings for you. So manual tasks of tagging, gone. Manual tasks of creating data dictionaries, gone. Manual tasks of creating business glossary, gone. Right? Having to do 7 different filters and 6 different buttons to narrow down search, gone. I just simply ask what I want. So if I were in the catalog business, I would kind of think kind of hard, right? This now becomes like a feature that's instantly available for $20 a month, right?
Yeah.
Data prep, right? Before there's specialized tools for you to change the date format, for you to aggregate, concatenate columns, create a new one, and you need specialized tools to do that. No, you don't. I can just tell the LLM, show me the date column in this format. Yeah. Right. And instantly it knows, oh, you just want to see year. I'm going to do an extract year SQL function automatically for you. Right. Or it's been trained on retail data so much that even though there isn't a column called gross margin, or even though there isn't a column called churn, I can ask it a question about gross margin. And it knows I'm probably going to have to go look for revenue or sales or price and quantity and sold and returns. And it knows it's been trained. I'm going to calculate that for you and I'm going to show you how I did it. That's pretty magical, man. Like didn't have to click on anything. So that becomes gone. And then visualization. I mean, it may not be like full-blown replacement of Tableau and it won't have all the visual libraries, but to get your question answered and a visual output, to be able to describe the visual output in natural language and have it generate that, that's here.
Yeah,
That's here today,
it's really there. Yeah.
right? And then you can change that visual output again just through natural language prompts. So if you look at that, Ramon, it is very easy, right, for that next startup to come
Yeah.
and say, I can build you a tool using the new framework, the Gen AI framework, native framework, that's going to give you 80% of what you do in a catalog, nearly 100% what you would do in data prep, connected to your Snowflake or to your Databricks, and it's going to give you good enough visualization to start off with. And it's probably not going to cost you $5 million to pay Accenture to integrate them, right? And it's available now. Uh, this is really disruptive if you think about what it does. Number
Yep.
one, landscape, uh, but number two, think about what it does to us as a user and consumer. We had to go learn all these tools. We had to go learn the UI. We had to go learn the workflow. I
Yep.
click this, then I go here, then I click this button, and then I answer in Slack. That's no longer relevant. It's just a prompt, right?
Exactly.
It's just a prompt that you're now interfacing with. So I even think this has far-reaching implications to application development as we know it.
Of course. Yes.
Think about all the time you and I have spent just designing that, where do we put that bar? What
Oh, there
font
are
do we
already tools
put
out
that?
there, Casey, like Replit, right, where you basically can just describe what you want and it'll create the basic framework of a form of an application, accept input, do the necessary checks, and produce the user interface in whatever color, form, or design you want. It's costs nothing. So
Yeah. And think about it. This is what I think was very, very profound as I started to kind of really dig into this and started using those tools myself, is that we, because you and I are kind of old, Ramon.
well, speak for
Well,
yourself.
maybe not you, me. We we grew up in the age where like we had to build one product for all our customers.
Yeah.
So that meant if I only use 6 buttons, Ramon uses another 8 buttons. As an app developer, I have
Yeah.
to build an app with 14 buttons, even though you will never click on the stuff that I click on. And
Yeah.
I'll never click on stuff you click on. But it now introduces product risk. It now introduces product delays, cost, right? Think about if everything becomes agentic on the application side as well, and everything could be prompt based. So I could ask it to build an app for just the 6 things I need to see. You could ask it to build an app just for the 8 things you have to see. Data is all going to be the same. How it gets the results is going to be the same. But now I don't ever have to learn and see those things that you want. You don't have to learn and see the things that I want. And as the application developer, I don't have to worry about building that one single magical UI and UX that everyone wants. That's how disruptive it is, right? I think like that's the kind of world and direction that we're going to, which is cool, but it's going to also require some new thinking and reskilling as well.
Yeah, I mean, you're singing our song, right? So our premise on agentic data management is exactly 99% of what you've described in the context of people want to be able to not have to define and do all of the rote, tedious tasks that were done previously. And democratization means different personas getting what they want out of the information. Um, and served it your way, Burger King style, right? And essentially getting what you want when you want it without you even sort of knowing how it's all going to be collected in the background. Now, with that caveat, the lifeblood that makes this all go round, and Mark Breyer moment here of Gartner, who's the godfather of this, is active metadata, right?
Yes.
And that is the stuff that's required in order for all of these LLMs and tools to be able to have the smarts, or at least the experience or the raw materials to be able to make these judgment calls and to automate. So I know obviously the metadata plays a huge part in Promethium, as does it with Excel data.
Right.
And that's a whole other show that we can do and talk about, and we will. I think it's an extremely interesting topic, and maybe we can get Mark Beyer to join us.
That would be a lot of fun.
That would be a lot of fun. Well, Kaycee, we're at time. It's been tremendous, obviously, and I don't think that's controversial at all. What you just said, I think Gartner also is predicting this, so it's out there.
Well, if you're a company like SAP who's maintaining your business because only a few people know the 60 clicks in the order that they need to do to get something done,
That's true.
this is kind of disruptive to your business, right? And so I
It
think
is.
legacy app vendors, they kind of need to watch out a little bit, right?
Yeah, everybody needs to evolve, right? This is what, otherwise everybody's going to have their blockbuster moments, right? They never saw Netflix coming. So I think that data management is exactly the same. Agentic data management, agentic AI, all of this, the Gen AI stuff is really taking over the world. And yeah, we'll love to talk about this with you in another episode. So, but thanks very much for joining.
Hey, always a blast to catch up with you, Ramon. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Kaycee.
Thanks for listening to the Data Forward podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or leave a rating and review. To catch all the latest insider news, be sure to subscribe, and we'll see you next time.